everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel Go for Agriculture. So from now on we are going to start a new course. It's integrated pest management. So it's easy, fun and a lot of interesting. So this course is basically all about how we do the pest management, and also this IPM have some effective and eco-friendly methods of pest management. Okay, so let's start with our lecture 1. It's insects. So insects as a group, they are highly successful organisms because of the tremendous success when compared to the human beings. And also these insects play an important role in the human point of view. Like for example, take agriculture. So some of the farmers, they adopt the rearing of the insects along with their farming system. Why? Like the rearing of insects means apiculture, sericulture, etc. So this integration with the farming system gives them additional income. And the second is, these insects, they are like a natural enemies for the pest. So this is why in the human point of view these insects play an important role. And also these insects are like a success on the universe because they outnumber all the species of plants and animals with their population and the number of species. And also it is believed that there are nearly 10 million species of insects existing on earth, and out of which we know only 1 million. And also the adaptability, guys, adaptability is phenomenal in insects because they literally can thrive in any kind of the environment, maybe by modifying their body temperature or even their characteristics. It can be because they have their own strategies to thrive. So next, if this is pie chart, okay, so on your right hand side you can see different kinds of organisms like flowering plants, monera, virus, fungi, algae, etc., including mammals also. But see on your left hand side, insects, just look at the number. They literally occupy half of the pie chart and they outnumber all the organisms present on the right side. So this is why we call insects their success on the universe. Next, we all know Darwin's theory, right? The natural selection. So Darwin's theory has 5 basic premises which really fits into the insects. First is natality, their reproductive rate. The reproductive rate is really excellent because many more individuals are born in each generation. If they survive, what will happen again? They reproduce. And we all know that these insects, they produce many number of individuals. Like eggs, for example, if we take, like if half of the eggs were destructed or dead due to some of the external factors, what about the remaining? If they survive, they reproduce and they produce number of individuals. So this is how natality works. Next is variability. Each and every insect is not identical to each other. They are different. They have the unique characteristic feature. So this is variability. Next is survivorship. Due to their unique feature, they have the different surviving and reproducing capabilities when compared to the other individuals. So this is basically survivorship. Next is heritability. So at least some of the characteristics resulting in differential reproduction are caused by having different genes. Next is time, the enormous spans of time available for slow and gradual change. And you should remember that insects as a taxon, they have long inhabited this planet. Literally, can you believe these insects were there since 4 or 5 million years ago? Okay, let me prove you with the series of events. First is Precambrian period. It's 3.1 billion years ago. So at the time single cell organisms were there. Next is Cambrian period. It's 600 million years ago. So the metazoans were there. In Silurian, it's 4 to 5 billion years ago. Then the arthropods first invaded the land. Devonian, it's 405. I've told you, first true insects. Carboniferous, it's 345 million years ago. The first radiation of insects. Cretaceous, 135. Second radiation of insects. So what is this first and second radiation of insects? Let me explain. So in the first radiation of insects, that is in Carboniferous period, they were insects. They only have legs in the body, like antennae, eye, everything were there, but no wings. In the Cretaceous period, by evolution, by changes, then the wings were formed because they have to adapt to the environment, right? So these are first and second radiation of insects. Next is tertiary. It's 63 million years ago. At the time, mammals, birds, insects have dominated this land. Quaternary, it's 2 million years ago, where we were there. It's Homo sapiens. Okay, this is the basic time of events. Next, insects has arthropods. So we know arthro means joint, poda means legs. And the body of insects is segmented, and they have paired and the segmented appendages. And they have bilaterally symmetrical, and they have a chitinous exoskeleton. So this chitinous exoskeleton is to conserve the water loss, because because the water conservation plays an important role in the insects. Okay, next is open circulatory system, and they have pseudocoelom. And if we see the characteristics of the insects, so the first is body. Their body is divided into three parts. It's head, thorax and abdomen. Next character is legs. They have 3 pairs of legs. Next character is wings. They have 2 pairs of wings. One are 4 wings. Okay, and another are hind wings. And if you see the antenna, they have 1 pair of antennae. So these are the basic characteristics of wings. Like we can identify, yes, this is an insect. Okay. Next is insect classification based on the economic importance. So there are of 2 types, economically important and economically not important. So we are going to see what are the insects which are economically important. They are of 3 types: injurious insects, beneficial and helpful insects. So in injurious, they are basically the pest which affect the plants and crops. Next is human beings and animals. So in pest which affects the crops and plants, there are 3. Agricultural entomology, like it is the study of the pest which affects the agricultural crops. Next is forest entomology. It's the study of insects which affects study of pest which affects the forest. Next is storage. It's all about the grains, food grains. Next is pest of human beings. It's medical entomology. And pest of animals is veterinary. And if we say the beneficial ones, as I've told you before, productive insects, apiculture, sericulture, that one. Next are insects as food, insects as medicines, insect for scientific research and also as aesthetic value. Next, which are helpful, like the predators, parasitoids, pollinators, weed killers and scavengers. These are the helpful insects. Okay, so do you remember the part where I've said insects play an important role in the human point of view? Do you remember? Yes. These 2 are the things where insects play an important role in the human point of view. Which are helpful, we can say the natural enemies of predators. Beneficial, it's where we integrate them with the farming system and also we'll use them as food, medicines, etc. Okay, next is what is a pest. So till now I'm discussing about insect and pest. So what is insect and pest and what is the differences? I'm going to tell you now. Okay, so pest it can be any organism which literally affects your comfort. So your comfort may be a crop or your health or your the livestock which you are rearing. So let's see, pest is any organism whose population increase to such an extent to cause economic loss to the crop or a nuisance or the health hazards to man and his livestock. Okay, so let me draft you this with an example. So there's a field like in 2020. So this field, when it was 500 years ago or 1000 years ago, what was it? It's a forest, right? So even in those forests there's a biodiversity, like a huge animals like tigers, deers, elephants, etc. And also small organisms, they are insects, right? So these insects, of course, they feed on the forest. But one day, since the population, no, not population, like a man and his group of the humans, so they so they literally cut down the forest to convert into the agricultural land for their sake. So as I said, they have cut down the forest and they started cultivating the crops. So the huge animals like tiger, antelopes, elephants, so they just migrate to the other places. Then what about the insects? They can't migrate, right? Like for many years they were being, you know, they were being dependent on the forest for their food. But suddenly that forest was converted into the agricultural land. So what happens? Just question to yourself, everyone, what happens? What do the insects do? Okay, let me tell you. So these insects will start feeding on the agricultural land. Why? Because the forest has gone, they have no other food source. The only food source is agricultural land. So so they start feeding on the agricultural land. They are enjoying their meal. So what happens when the farmer observed, oh my god, these insects are literally destroying my crop. These are the bad ones. I have to kill them. Bad ones, just underline the bad ones. Bad ones means they are affecting the crop. They made him angry, right? So he called them as pest. Why did he call them as pest? Because they affected his crop, his economic profitability. That's why he called them as pest. But those insects were feeding on the forest. Where was in the past? Did he call them as pests? No. He generally called them, yes, see those insects. But when those insects started feeding on his land, he called them as pests. So this is the reason why we call them as pest. So pest can be any organism. It can be a rat, bird, anything which which affects the human comfort. Just we'll call them as pest. So I hope you're clear the difference between the insect and a pest. Okay. Next, crop losses due to pest. So if we see here, due to the insects there is 26% of the crop loss, and diseases is 26%, and rodents is 15%, and weeds is 33%. And if we see the average, 18% crop yield is lost due to the pest. And if we see the annual monetary loss, it's 60,000 crores. So if there is this much monetary loss, so we should come up with some strategies in order to control the crop loss due to the pest. Next is okay. So in this table it's given the different crops and their percentage and their yield loss, and also the loss in the millions. Like in cotton that's 30%, and in total is 18.9 metric tons, and the value of loss in millions is this much. And if we see the total average here in lower, you can see this, right? So the total percentage lost is 17%, and in millions is 8,63,884 million rupees. So this is not a a little bit small value, it's a huge value. So we should come up with the strategies to to control the pest. Next, have you guys ever wondered how insects become pests? So the first is destruction of forest, as I've told you in the previous example, so that applies here. Next is destruction of natural enemies. So in this universe there should be an equal balance between a good and bad. So good are the natural enemies and bad is a pest. Okay, so if we kill the good ones, so the bad ones, of course it will increase. So those bad ones, they affect our human health, or they affect our comfort. So what will we do? We'll call them as these are bad ones, I'm going to kill them. So this is how insects turn into pests, due to the destruction of the natural enemies. Next is intensive and extensive cultivation of crops. So extensive cultivation of crops means, so the crop is cultivated in a small area of land with a small amount of labor and capital. This is called as extensive cultivation. Intensive means, for example, take a ketchup. So for ketchup the main ingredient is tomato, right? So for example, like an industry called ABC, is is you know is producing this ketchup. Okay, so the so since the main ingredient is tomato, so what they will do is the industry itself cultivates this tomato crop on a huge area of land with a huge capital. This is called as intensive cultivation. Like you can see in the picture given below, it's basically the intensive cultivation. So due to this intensive and extensive cultivation, the farmers, they will use a huge amount of chemical fertilizers for the good crop in a fast period of time. So this is why the stem borers, they will be formed in rice and sugarcane. So this is why the insects will be turned into the pest. So this is it, everyone. Till now we have discussed what are insects and their classification, why insects will be turned into the pest, crop loss, etc. So, so this is it for today's lecture. And if you have any queries, you can ask us on our Instagram page, or you can post it in the comment section. And also you can download the PPT which is given in the link below. So thanks for watching this video. Till then, stay tuned. Take care. Bye bye.